portion of Edgecombe, Nash, and Wilson County, and it is until 1:45. So we're going to be with you for at least another 30 minutes or so. And it's pretty much moved right over Elm City, and it's going to move right on the county line here. So from Sharpsburg up toward Rocky Mount, right up 301, very close to 95 as well, near Battleboro, Whitakers. Lance, I'm sure you can hear us, and I'm sure you already know that the warning has gone off, but we want you to get out of this area. We want you to be safe. And if you know anyone in this area as well, Sharpsburg, Rocky Mount, again, near Easenburg and Bullock's Crossroads, just to the east of Dorchester, Battleboro. We've had to talk about these communities before in the past year or so. We want you to get to that safe spot. Remember, if you have a basement, great, go there. Not everyone around here have basements. So if you don't have a basement, lowest level of your home. Get to the center of your home as well, away from windows, away from outside walls. Again, hunker down, turn the TV up as loud as you possibly can so you can hear us walk you through this as we have this tornado warning now in effect for a small portion of Edgecombe, Nash, and Wilson County, or it's mainly for Edgecombe and Nash County, and then a small portion of Wilson as it's moving out of Wilson County.
Yeah, so this looks like it's going to go right from Elm City up Highway 301. So this would be east of I-95, all right? And this would be right on the county line between Nash and Edgecombe County. It's going to go right from Elm City, Sharpsburg, heading up toward Rocky Mount. You guys in the community of Ashburn and West Edgecombe and Bullock's Crossroads, all the way until you get up to Highway 64. And again, you guys in Rocky Mount getting some really nasty weather right now, but this is where these communities where we might have a tornado, all right? Either way, if it's not a tornado, it's heavy rain, it's damaging wind gusts associated with the thunderstorm that's moving through. So we have two things happening. We have some rotation from a tornado warning, and we have more widespread severe thunderstorm warnings because of the damaging wind gusts. So those of you in those communities I just talked about, you need to be in your safe place. You need to check on friends and family in that area. Speaking of friends and family, our own Lance Blocker is in that area in the Weather Beast. Lance, if you can hear us, give us an update to what you're seeing east of the Triangle.
Yeah, Wes, I'm about a mile to the southwest of this. The main rotation itself is right out in front of me. It's going to be off to the northeast of me by about a mile. So coming back behind it, there was a lot of lightning and a lot of wind from this. This is a very violent storm as it's closing in on Rocky Mount. I advise folks, just as you mentioned there, if you're in Rocky Mount, tornado safe place now. Enter your hallway, doorway, closet area. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible and stay away from windows. You're not going to see this as it arrives. And I will tell you this too, a moment ago, I don't know if it was the traffic that was around me, but it certainly sounded like a loud uproar probably about 3 minutes ago. And that's really as soon as the National Weather Service hit that warning is whenever I heard that noise. And everybody else, I think, heard it too, because everybody suddenly slowed down. Like, what is that? What was going on? So we're going to head east. I am just now to the west of this. It doesn't look necessarily as impressive, but Rocky Mount, go ahead, seek shelter, and I'll send it back to you guys in studio there to let folks know where that rotation is.
Lance, you're getting off I-95, I'm guessing. Are you going east on 64 toward Rocky Mount? Give us an update of exactly where you are.
Yeah, so I'm on West Mount Drive. I'm coming in from the southwest side of Rocky Mount. I'm going to come up 301 here in a moment and then arrive towards downtown. Okay. So that's the route I'm taking. I'm basically going due east behind that rotation.
Gotcha. Yeah, so Lance is in the Weather Beast east of the Triangle out toward Rocky Mount, where we still have an active tornado warning. And, you know, Lance mentioned he's not going to be able to see it. Right. And neither are you, because there is so much heavy rain around it. The cloud deck is lowered. And we had this yesterday. heavy rain move through. We tried to see downtown Raleigh from our view in North Raleigh, which is a couple miles away. We can normally see it. Couldn't see it. Couldn't see more than a couple blocks. So if you can't see things like that, you're not going to be able to see a rain-wrapped tornado, which this possibly could be for areas in and around Rocky Mount.
Because we have to assume that there could be a tornado either on the ground or that it could potentially develop. So that's why we have these tornado warnings. Even though this is still radar indicated, we don't have ground truth of a tornado on the ground, we still want you to act as if there is one, because we want you to hunker down and wait it out and not have a tornado, then not be hunkered down and a tornado rolls through. So again, if we want to switch over to Max 2 here really quickly, let's go ahead and check in with some of that velocity, where some of the spin is, and it looks like it's there just to the southwest of Rocky Mount near Sharpsburg and near Halifax Crossing. This is where, as we switch back over to the radar, where we can see, yes, heavy rain as well. There's the rotation. Let's see if we can see anything developing on our debris tracker, and we're not really seeing anything, which would be obviously good news. We never want that tornado on the ground. We talk about that uniform color, and we're not really seeing any changes. So yes, this is a rotating storm. This is a powerful storm that is going to knock some trees down. But at least as of right now, it doesn't look like it's producing a tornado. But Rocky Mount, get ready. This is getting ready to impact you within the next few minutes.
Yeah, so let's pull up Max 1. Let's go back to our live camera at Nash Community College. All right, this is in Rocky Mount. So there's that bad visibility. I mean, we can barely see to the other side of the parking lot. So that's heavy rain. That's low clouds. And I'm looking at the treetops. I don't know if we've got a pause in this, but I'm looking for some wind gusts. But those are the things we're watching. I mean, just ugly weather, whether it's a tornado or not, something you don't want to be outside for. And this also probably just passed over the Rocky Mount Airport. And so I want to switch over. And it looks like they just had a 30-mile-per-hour wind gust. And listen, a 30-mile-per-hour wind gust that has already got 6 inches of rain in the past week. You got a big tree with a big canopy. I mean, that could knock down some trees and maybe knock out some power. So that's one of the things we're worried about today. Yes, we're worried about a possible tornado, but the thunderstorm that's coming through is producing wind gusts that are impacting thousands of people. It's not just one small tornado, it's a large cluster of thunderstorms that is producing widespread wind gusts. And I was just looking at the map. Yeah, the Rocky Mount Wilson Regional Airport kind of lies just southwest of Rocky Mount and in between I-95 and 301, and they just got some of the worst weather. So I wouldn't be surprised if their wind gust was even more than 30 miles per hour. But the reason why that's happening is because they're getting that line of thunderstorms that's starting to bow out. So that's why we have the severe thunderstorm warning. But within that thunderstorm, there's one small little cluster that is producing some rotation and could be producing a tornado. So we've got 2 tornado warnings right now. Let's talk about both. We're going to start with Rocky Mount, and then we'll go back up to Mecklenburg County and check in on that one in southern Virginia. But there you can see Rocky Mount. Again, this is where Lance is in the Weather Beast, so we're going to wait to hear if he sees anything new. But look at all the heavy rain. Look at all the lightning. That's problem enough. That thunderstorm is also producing wind gusts that could be as high as 50 or 60 miles an hour. And then we've got the tornado warning. So let's see where that rotation has moved to. Again, this is right east of I-95, right along Highway 301, around Rocky Mount, north of Sharpsburg. This is right on the county line between Nash and Edgecombe County. So I'll switch over to our analytical mode, and yep, there's the area that we're watching. So remember, when we switch over to our Doppler wind, our analytical mode, remember, Doppler radar not only can see how intense the rain is, it can also see which direction things are moving. And when we see a little cluster of green and a little cluster of red, that's telling us the winds are moving in 2 different directions, right on top of 301. And when you get winds that start to move in different directions, right, you eventually start to do this like when you're a kid and you got Play-Doh, right? What happens when you put that Play-Doh and you start doing that? It forms a little cylinder, right? That cylinder is rotation up in the clouds, and now we're just waiting to see if that's going to drop out of the clouds. So those of you just south of Rocky Mount, but listen, this storm is moving in a hurry off to the northeast. It's probably about ready to come over downtown Rocky Mount, and then it's going going to continue to cross Highway 64 and then continue to move northeast. Again, Lance is there right now. Let's check back in with him and see if he's got any new reports from what's happening where this potential tornado and thunderstorm is right now. Lance.
Yeah, hey, Wes, I've not intercepted the actual path of this, but I will tell you that I'm about 1.25 miles to the southwest. So it's moving north to my east, if you think about that. I'm just to its southwest right now, where the main rotation is with this storm. It's on the west side of Rocky Mount as we're speaking right now. It's moving over Rocky Mount, and it does look fairly impressive. Damage-wise for me, from what I've seen, 0 for this part. But again, I haven't crossed the path of where that main couplet has gone over. I've just been paralleling it to the west, but I'm telling you, it is just off to my northeast. I had a delta of about 70 miles per hour about, 5 minutes ago. I see the new scan is coming in now, so still, folks in Rocky Mount take this very seriously, especially if you're north of Rocky Mount. If you are south of Rocky Mount, and I mean south of downtown Rocky Mount, you're in the clear. So that's good news there from this individual rotation. But everybody north of Rocky Mount, including downtown Rocky Mount, take shelter. This thing's moving over to you right now. Send it back to you guys.
Okay, Lance, good stuff. So from where Lance is in the Weather Beast out south of Rocky Mount, let's pop up Max 1 real quick. So Lance is in the worst of it right now. So there is where he is, right east of I-95 along 301, southwest of Rocky Mount. From there, I want to turn on the velocity mode, the rotation, which is right about here, but I'm guessing by now it's right on top of Rocky Mount. So that's where it's headed as this storm is moving off to the northeast. Again, we are east of the triangle, east of I-95, right around the Rocky Mount area. That's where we have an active tornado warning. So everyone in and around Rocky Mount, I would say around Rocky Mount, areas north and northeast, that's where it is headed next. You need to seek your shelter right now. But this is just one of 2 tornado warnings. Rachel, you got the other one up in Mecklenburg County.
Yeah, and really this one only goes for about another 1 minute. So we have a small section of southern Virginia, of Mecklenburg County, Virginia, that is included in a tornado warning if we want to take max 2. Again, this runs until 1:30. I would not be surprised if they're just letting it go until 1:30. We're not seeing as impressive as rotation as we check in with the velocity, with the winds inside the storm. And as we get another view from a different radar, those velocities have, I don't want to say have totally gone away, but they're not quite as tightly compacted as they were before. And we continue to not see anything on our debris tracker. We're not seeing any change in the colors. And there we go. You just saw that red box disappear. The tornado warning for southern Virginia, northern Mecklenburg County, Virginia, has been allowed to expire. So now all of our attention goes back to right here. This is that tornado warning that is impacting Rocky Mount right now and moving to the north. So they've completely taken Wilson out of this tornado warning and is now exclusively Edgecombe and Nash County, and this goes until 1:45. And I know if you were tuning in to watch your afternoon programming, it might be a little bit frustrating if you are in Durham, if you are in Wake Forest or Raleigh or Fayetteville, and you're not dealing with any rain, you're not dealing with any thunderstorms. But this is a dangerous situation. Anytime we have the possibility of a tornado to develop, we experienced this with Debbie just a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, whenever that was. It does not take much for these tornado warnings on the band of a tropical system to develop a tornado. So we would rather be on here and let you know there's a tornado warning for some of our friends along the I-95 corridor than let it go. So once again, we have tornado warning till 1:45 for Edgecombe and Nash County.
Do me a favor on Max 2. So take off the radar so we can see the red box. Just kind of hide that. There's the lightning go away. So we're going to do something real quick. We're going to take away the radar. So see that red box? You see a yellow box. You see a green box. So there's a lot going on for everyone Rocky Mount up through 301 right there on the county line. There is a tornado warning. There are wind gusts strong enough to knock down trees 50 and 60 miles an hour with a severe thunderstorm warning. And there is a flash flood warning. So absolute a trifecta of bad weather right now. And again, we're seeing more signs that there could be some definitive rotation now north of Rocky Mount where we might actually have a tornado on the ground.
Yeah, so as we check in, remember we were talking about the uniformity of the debris tracker, and if we see any change in color, that could be a sign that some debris is being lofted into the air. There might be something developing on our debris tracker there north of Rocky Mount. And the Weather Service is actually seeing that as well. So here's where that is. That is right north of 64 and Battle Park Lane. This is getting ready to cross 301. So this is straddling between 301, that eastern section of it, and then as it continues to move to the north. So we have to assume that there may be some debris showing up. So as we check in with the debris tracker, and then we look to where, wow, that has really tightened up just in the last scan or so.
And this
is here's what we're talking about.
Yeah, and this is right around downtown Rocky Mount, northeast. Those of you who maybe travel out there, there's a big baseball complex. The Rocky Mount Sports Complex is right there. And then as you move north over Airport Road, as you come north out of town on 301, that's the Wesleyan Boulevard, also called that, right kind of parallel to North Church Road. So as you continue to head north out of town, Rocky Mount, that's where this storm is tracking. And I think maybe a good estimate would be it's kind of following 301 north as you leave town. That's eventually going to get up to the Fast Track Fun Park. The Amtrak and the railroad line is kind of right out there too. So these are the areas where we could have some rotation that is producing a tornado. Even if you don't have that, you've got a lot of lightning, you've got incredibly heavy rain, and you've got winds strong enough to possibly knock down trees. Guys, let's switch back over to the Rocky Mount camera at Nash Community College.
Oh, yeah, that's rotating.
Yep. You can see that structure was impacted. We've got roof damage. Go ahead.
Can you see across?
Yeah, I'm Tiffany Boulevard and Wesleyan Boulevard. Wesleyan Boulevard and Tiffany Boulevard. We've also got we've got Airport Road to my right. And I've got some power line issues here too. So I've got an 18-wheeler turned over on its side up here. Let's flip cameras. We're going to go to the front. You can see this off the left side of the camera view. This just came through. Days Inn looks like it's impacted. I've got another restaurant here. Looks like it was closed down. It's impacted. I'm going to turn this so you can see. And we've got power lines down right there too, actually. Somewhat dangerous right here. But you can see ahead of me, there's an 18-wheeler on its side from where this tornado just went through just a few moments ago. It's to the north of Rocky Mount now, so if you're in Rocky Mount, this is now to your north. We've got some other debris, I'm sure, beyond me. I'm going to send it back to you guys. I want to make sure this driver's okay. Let me send it back to you guys in studio. Track this thing north. Let everybody else know where this is headed.
For that update.
All right, so Lance is north of downtown Rocky Mount. He's on 301, which is also Wesleyan Boulevard. And this storm obviously has produced a tornado or damaging wind. We'll assume a tornado. So now it's headed back north, continuing pretty much up 301. So Battleboro, you guys are next in line. You've seen the damage. We know something's going wrong here, so please be ready to get in your safe space. So this is north of downtown Rocky Mount. So this is headed up toward North Carolina Wesleyan College. That's right there on Wesleyan Boulevard 301. It's headed up toward Belmont Lake Golf Club, and it's headed up toward Battleboro, all right, where kind of that's also Highway 4. It intersects 301 right up there toward Battleboro, and also Battleboro Leggett Road, all right? If you are in this area, if you know friends and family in that area, everyone around there needs to get in their safe space. We have damage from a likely tornado that could still be on the ground. This is right on the county line, Edgecombe and Nash County. Let's switch over to kind of a big picture on Max 2 because that is telling us, that's where the debris tracker is showing us that there's something on the ground that got pulled up into the sky and is now being picked up on radar. Let's switch over from that view. And again, it's going to be in Battleboro in a hurry in the next few minutes. This thing is cooking probably 30 to 40 miles an hour. All right, so let's switch over to the analytical mode, and we can see Rachel, where the rotation is now, and let's talk about where it's headed.
Yeah, so if we sort of line it up, we actually got a live update with the the debris tracker. So it looks like the debris has in fact moved north. It is right where Thomas Betts Parkway and Bishop Road meets up with 301. So again, let's just go ahead and go to the north here. We're going to call out some street names. This is right along 301. Again, Battleboro, get to your safe spot right now. Lowest part of your home right now. This is moving to you in a hurry. Battleboro Leggett Road, like Wes already mentioned, Battleboro Avenue, Marriott Road, Bradley, Cutchin Lane, all of these sort of lining right up with 301. So when we see this showing up on the radar, that means, as we mentioned, there's debris being picked up by a tornado, and it is lofted so high into the air that the radar sees it. So we have a tornado on the ground. This is why we have been with you, and you saw the damage that Lance had as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to line up this debris signature with the velocity, with the rotation, and it does look like the rotation is broadening out just a bit as it moves to the north, but until this signature, until this debris is gone, we're going to be with you because we have to act like there's a tornado on the ground, and it is on the ground. This warning goes until 1:45. I would not be surprised if they actually extend this out a little bit farther due to the history of tornado on the ground. Again, Battleboro, get to your safe spot right now, as well as Whitakers. Whitakers, get to your safe spot right now. Whitakers, where it intersects with 301 and 44. Get out toward Nash Street, really right along the Nash and Edgecombe County lines as well. So here's that debris signature again, right up 301 to the north of Rocky Mount. Our own Lance Blocker was there on the ground, and he saw the damage, a semi-truck blown over, a billboard that was knocked over as well. And we have to assume that this tornado is still on the ground until we get confirmation from the National Weather Service that it has lifted or dissipated.
Yeah, a couple things here.
Actually, really quickly, I'm sorry, Wes, it looks like maybe we can't assume that the tornado is off the ground, but that debris signature is not as impressive as it was before. So even if it is still on the ground, maybe it's not lofting up as much debris, which would be good news, but we're still seeing that debris signature. We have to keep a close eye on that. Let's line it up with the velocity. And before we were mentioning that the rotation, that couplet isn't quite as impressive as it was before. It's still broadly rotating. We're still seeing a little bit of that possible debris being lofted up into the air and being seen by radar. So we're going to assume that there's still a tornado on the ground and heading toward Battleboro. Battleboro, hunker down right now.
All right, let's switch over to Max 1 and kind of pull back a little. It is now 20 till 2, 1:40 on this Friday afternoon. Wes Hohenstein and Rachel Dunsing live here on CBS 17 as we can continue to cover what Hurricane Helene has dealt to our area. And right now, we have several things going on east of the Triangle, around and east of I-95, from Wayne County up through Wilson County, parts of Edgecombe, Nash County, and also into Halifax County. We have some incredibly heavy rain. We have a lot of lightning with this storm. We have thunderstorm wind gusts that could be in excess of 50 or 60 miles per hour. We've got saturated ground. We're going to have a lot of problems. But we now also have what we think is a confirmed tornado that hit in and around Rocky Mount, could still be on the ground north of Rocky Mount. There's a lot of us that are now in the clear. If you've got the worst of the weather today and it's now moved out, you're in the clear, but there's still a lot of us east of the Triangle along I-95 who need to stay in place, stay home if you can. We have sent our own Lance Blocker to follow the worst of the weather safely in the Weather Beast. That is where he is, in and around Rocky Mount right now. Lance, come back in, tell us what you've got. Everything okay with that 18-wheeler truck driver?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, thankfully he was just fine. The driver's okay. He was standing upright, and I did leave where he was because he was doing just fine. They've got EMS, of course, on the way there. I've got a full building collapse here, or a structure collapse on the other side of that tree. You can see the police and fire running around out here to make sure everybody's okay. Let me see if I can zoom in on that a little bit. I can see that we've got a lot of rain on the lens. I apologize for that, but look at that structure right there. and the fire and police there running to the scene to make sure everybody's okay. There are some down power lines as well, of course, dangling about, something that first responders honestly take the risk of in order to help make sure that everybody's safe in this type of a scenario, at least get them the care that they need as quickly as possible. This storm really tightened up right over downtown. Looks like it produced definitely produced a tornado here. You can see the damage is pretty widespread. I'm going to put this back on the front camera. There's about 4 or 5 officers out ahead of me. We got a lot of bricks, and looks like some damage to this house for sure. There's a fire and EMS back behind me in the other direction. They're helping people out. A lot of folks converging on this area right now to get everybody safe. I saw some other fire department officials go down to my right earlier to try to respond to another house that was likely struck there as well. So I'm going to flip back around. I've got to make sure I can safely do so, of course. But I'm going to try to flip back around over here. We got a lot of people running over there. I want to see what's going on. Hopefully everybody's okay. I'm not sure if they're doing a search right now or what, but it seems like a lot of action right here to my left where that entire structure collapsed just moments ago. In fact, I'll go ahead and flip that camera back around over to that. That's the structure where I just saw a group of people running towards. So hopefully, I hope everybody's okay. Looks like they're signaling for EMS out here right now. You can see that guy right there on the bottom right of the screen. Sorry, I'm turning the camera opposite. I'm looking in the rearview mirror so you can see exactly here. They're trying to make sure everybody's okay. I'm going to go back over there as well. For now, I'll send it back to y'all. I'm not sure where this storm is, but this is why we do this. Hopefully, everybody took shelter as the storm moved through and got to a safe place, because you can tell just the damage from this was extensive. But like I said, I'm going to send it back to y'all for an update on where this storm is, where it's going, and I'll give you an update from here whenever I can.
Lance, stay with us one second. We're seeing the tree and we're seeing the damage to some of the cars. Are those bricks on the parking lot road?
Yeah, those are bricks on the roadway. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I mean, there's a tree that looks like it was launched. There was, because there's nowhere for the tree to be. It had to have been launched from the other side of this building, and you can see just all the. Oh, I'm up in the air. I'm sorry. You can just see all the damage from this as it moved through. So yeah, a lot of debris. There's I'm seeing some roofing material out ahead of me. Actually, circle around some 2x4s that were in the road back behind me. A ton of debris in the road. So this was a strong tornado. Go ahead.
Do you see any crossroads or cross streets by you that we can call out, so if people are watching, they know maybe where to go check on their friends and their family? Do you see any cross streets?
Yeah, let me get you that. This is going to be Tiffany Boulevard right
still
here.
Tiffany?
There's an apartment complex to my right. Yeah, still Tiffany Boulevard. But I will tell you that if you have people over here, if you've got family or friends here, the amount of police and EMS that are present, they're going to be taken care of quickly. It's such a great response. Everybody got out here quickly as soon as this damage occurred. I mean, this was just 10 or 15 minutes ago, and it looks like the entire town's police force and EMS and fire have all converged here to make sure people are safe and to get them to safety if they're not. So again, Tiffany Boulevard, it's a Buffalo Wild Wings back behind me that looks like he was unharmed from this. There's a Books A Million bookstore there. Let's see if I can find. Jeffries Road is on the other side of this structure, Joyner Street. So those are some cross streets there. Perhaps you may know somebody here. But again, hopefully everybody's okay. I'm seeing now that it looks like they're actually helping some people. Let me see if I can move this a little bit. Yeah, they're on the other side of that tree, but they were just helping somebody walk. Looks like maybe that person was injured there for sure. And it's just a whole group of people out here trying to take care of their friends and neighbors and strangers. And I mean, you can see what an experience. And that is quite a building, actually. Let me go ahead and turn the camera back around a little bit, and I'll try to zoom in some where you can see the first responders helping out some folks who are clearly at the very least shaken up. That entire building looks like it basically collapsed from this as that tornado moved through. National Weather Service did a great job getting 15, 20 minutes worth of lead time, as they always do. So we're going to zoom back out a little bit. I'm not sure exactly who they're tending to there.
All right, Lance,
but
great
the National Weather
stuff.
Service got this warning out.
Listen,
well in advance.
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
All right, let's kind of get back to the radar. I'll let you kind of recollect yourself, make sure everyone's okay, keeping you safe. We hope everyone is now taking this seriously. So we see with our eyes the damage that this storm has done. Let's get back to radar because it is still an active tornado warning. So one of the things I want to do here, let's update on where we are. So we're still east of the triangle. The tornado warning now for Edgecombe and Halifax County. So the tornado part of this storm has left Nash County, but you still have some heavy rain, lightning, gusty winds. So the tornado that we have now seen likely was on the ground has now pushed up to the north of Rocky Mount. So let's kind of zoom in. All right. I know that's a lot of green, red, and yellow, and it kind of just all blurs together. So let's turn on our analytical mode. And here you can see, remember, we are looking for the bright red and the green colors clustered closely together. That's telling us the winds are moving in two different directions. Now, what I want to do is we're going to play a little connect the dots here because that's where the storm is now, east of Brattleboro in northern parts of Edgecombe County, about ready to cross into Halifax County. This is live radar in our analytical mode. I'm going to back up the radar just a second. We're going to go back about 5 or 10 minutes, and there you can see the rotation. This storm is moving really fast, and it's going to be in the lower, leave the lower thirds off for a second, guys. The rotation was back here. So from here, we can say that the storm that was producing a tornado went right from north of Rocky Mount. It looks like it's now east of Brattleboro. And then I'm going to switch over to our regular radar mode. And so let's redraw that line. And so this storm is headed right in that area. Lance is still with us. Lance, are you listening? You got something new for us?
Yeah, I do. They've asked folks not to come down here right now. There's a major gas leak. In addition to everything else that's going on, emergency crews came up to me and asked to tell people not to come down here right now until they get there. And when I walked outside, the air was filled with gas. You could smell it like crazy. And again, you could see, of course, a lot of injuries. I asked him if they needed any other assistance, and he said, yes, just come on out. But he's asked for no more vehicles to come into this area because they're still trying to get emergency crews in here. So that's actually why I'm backing up and getting out of their way so they can get more people in. But now I'm watching it, what looks to be, I'm going to flip back around, watch these, look at in the distance, you can see this now, about 6 or 7 police officers jogging towards the damage. They've still got more people ahead of us who are likely injured. I've got a car coming up behind me that looks like it was impacted heavily, and they're trying to drive out of here. I mean, this is just certainly a significant impact from this tornado. So I'm going to get the weather beast out of the way here. I want to see what I can do to help out, but we'll keep you updated. It's a fairly active scene. It's going to stay active for quite some time. But again, if you're in the area, don't come down here. They don't need any more vehicles. You can see the congestion where I am right now. And hopefully they'll get this gas leak situated quickly as well.
Okay. That's Lance Blocker live in the Weather Beast in Rocky Mount, where we have a likely tornado that hit damage. We have the Nash County Emergency Manager reporting at least 3 structures completely destroyed. Lance says there's a gas leak. The tornado could still be causing some problems and on the ground. Now east of Whitakers. This is still in Edgecombe County. This is around 301. We talked about Highway 301 kind of goes northeast out of Rocky Mount up toward Whitakers. Now the intersection of 33. So from Whitakers, next up is Enfield in parts of Edgecombe County. Not as highly populated as what's in and around Rocky Mount, but this is eventually going to make it up toward Enfield, which is East Franklin Street as 301 comes into town, Highway 481. So if this is you, if this is where you live or you have friends and family, this is where we have a damaging storm that is either still producing a tornado or damaging wind gusts that could cause problems. And as this continues to move northeast, we have to assume, because the tornado warning is now still in effect for more than 30 minutes. So this hasn't been a brief tornado. This rotation has held together from the far outer bands of Hurricane Helene. The tornado warning now, Edgecombe and Halifax County until 2:30.
And it does look like it's moving more to the northeast. Before, when we were tracking these, they were saying that they were pretty much going due north, but we were concerned they were going to take a slight eastward jog as well. And now they're actually saying that this particular storm that has a tornado warning is moving to the northeast now at about 45 miles an hour. So again, we'll put a quick track on that to give you an idea. That will be Croswell's Crossroads at 209, Ruggles at 212, Halifax, the town at 217, and then Boone's Crossroads around 225. But I want to get in a little bit closer here as well, as we always like to do. This is east of Whitaker's, and we want to call out some of these street names. So we've been talking a lot about 301. Wes just mentioned that to you as well, but pretty much all up 301, but that also includes, 481, where it intersects with 301 in both locations, all the way up toward Delmar and Crowell's Crossroads. 125, where it intersects with 301. That's at that Ruggles community. They're just south of Halifax, as well as toward Allen Grove. So I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to try and do it slowly so I don't make you dizzy. I know when we have these tornado warnings, sometimes we're going through things very quickly. Try not to make you dizzy. Apologies, but we do want to keep you updated. And so this is what we're watching in that area of rotation right here, sort of between Whitaker's and the north of Gethsemane. That is right along 33, I believe that's NC 33, but right along there north of Gethsemane. And this is the area of concern. This is the area that we are watching as it now moves to the northeast, as we mentioned before, about 45 miles per hour, or 35 miles per hour, excuse me. So it is moving at a rather quick pace again, and now moving to the northeast. Have we had any more updates from the National Weather Service? Obviously, we have Lance in a very active situation, so we're trying to allow him to safely move the vehicle and get out of the way. But have we heard anything else?
No new reports out there. From the Weather Service, not since we heard about those three structures. We're continuing to keep an eye on what's really a large cluster of storms that has cleared most of the area. As we switch back over to Max 1, I want everyone to kind of see the big picture. So storms are getting out of here, and it doesn't always happen this way, but the timing of how we thought this storm would play out is kind of working out. A great testament to the technology we have and the National Hurricane Center and our local National Weather Service. This has timed out kind of like we thought. We are now approaching 2 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. The worst of the weather now over the I-95 corridor. It has cleared a majority of our area, but in hopefully another hour, maybe 90 minutes, we can sound the all clear for everyone. But obviously, we still have some heavy rain, lightning, some damaging wind gusts, as well as the possibility of a tornado in northern parts of Edgecombe County and Halifax County. Looks like we got an update on the tornado watch.
Yeah, so as this outer rain band of what is now Tropical Storm Helene continues to move away from us behind the worst of the weather, we are actually seeing conditions improving, and so much so that they are starting to take people out of the tornado watch that was in place. So if we want to switch over to Max 2, perfect. You did that right as I was wanting you to. So this tornado watch still goes into effect until 6 p.m. tonight, but you can see they're starting to take a lot of us out of it. So the entire triangle is out of this tornado watch, as well as areas to the south. Right now, it just looks like Wayne County, Wilson County, Nash County, Edgecombe County, Halifax County, Northampton County, as well as Warren County are the only counties in our viewing area in central North Carolina that are still included in this tornado watch. But as that band, as that line of storms eventually pushes out of our region, it's very likely that this watch will also be carved away for the rest of us as well. But unfortunately, we still have to get through this tornado warning that we have in effect until 2:30, I believe, as it moves again to the northeast. Unfortunately, we saw with our meteorologist Lance Blocker has produced a tornado, has produced significant damage near Rocky Mount, north of Rocky Mount. There was Tiffany Boulevard. Again, to our partners, the National Weather Service, if you are listening, the damage that you saw from Lance Blocker was on Tiffany Boulevard.
Yeah, and that's, we talked about the Rocky Mount Sports Complex. Yeah. He was right at that Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah.
My son has played baseball at that complex many times times people come from all over the region, and this is going into a weekend. I bet there were a lot of people ready in town to play a game. I've been to that Buffalo Wild Wings, so we have some damage in Rocky Mount. So we want to talk to all our friends out there. If you guys want to bring up Max 1 real quick. When it is safe to do so, let us know what's going on in your community, because visual reports from you when it's safe make a huge difference in relaying the information to people who are still under the gun dealing with some severe weather. So whether it's shooting us a message on Facebook or an email, we're all on social media. If you want to do that when it's safe, it would really help share stories about what's going on east of the Triangle, because as we have talked about, we still have an active severe weather situation, and that is mainly for parts of Edgecombe and Halifax County. That's where the active tornado warning is right now until 2:30. There's a look at the radar. You can see how heavy the rain is. We've got lightning, we've got gusty winds with the thunderstorms, and we've got some rotation that has already possibly produced a tornado, definitely shown us some damage. So let's kind of go back to our analytical mode. I want to walk everyone through what we're looking at, and we still see, I know it sounds really simple, but we still see these red clusters of pixels right up against these green clusters, and that's telling us winds are moving in two different directions, and that's where, right over the infield area, so I'm talking to you guys, that's where this possible tornado could be. Maybe the tornado has come back up into the clouds, but we're still seeing the rotation, and at any second it could drop back down. These tropical tornadoes, they pulse up and they pulse down, they pulse up and they pulse down, and this one has definitely pulsed up as far as rotation has gone, and that has dropped to tornado. So this is where that could be right now. And that's where our own Lance Blocker is. He is out live on the scene of some damage from the tornado in Rocky Mount. Lance, bring us up to date.
Yeah, well, as you can see it here, this is the building we were looking at. I'm going to go ahead and take this back so that it's not just so that you can see full screen what exactly I'm looking at. Let's go back the other direction. I apologize. All right, there we go. Now it's going to flip. All right, you can see all of the damage to this structure here. There was somebody inside of it. I'm going to keep the camera focused over here since they're working on him.
Head west toward Tiffany Boulevard.
Quickly, in terms of trying to get some folks who were perhaps in the path of this and injured. I'm going to walk very safely as I walk around here. Still a lot of debris. You can see the fire department here on scene right now. Go ahead. Yeah, what you got over there? Yeah, I got you. No problem. So much. And you can see here they're taking care of the building back behind me. All the windows are come out. Let's go ahead and move this back around. So again, you can see all the debris. Look at this brick that was launched into that windshield right there on that vehicle. The tree here obviously showing a lot of damage as well. We'll walk back around. There's a community off in the distance here. That's where there was a lot of attention earlier. I heard a gentleman come up and he was frantically looking for his daughter. I think she's okay. She was getting her hair cut at one of the buildings. It was not as impacted, but certainly a lot of anxiety as the storm moved through and folks making sure their loved ones are okay. But the police response, the EMS response, I like to stress that because they run into these scenes. They did that again, once again. The rain here is beginning to let up. Hopefully that'll help as they continue their efforts here. I'm going to send it back to you guys for now. I don't want to get in anybody's way here. And it does look like, compared to just 15 minutes ago, there's nobody running anymore. So the scene is still very active, but it's not frantic like it was when I first walked up. Here, look at these trees. Look at all of that. I mean, a lot of damage from this. You can see it here on the ground as well. There's some roofing material, probably from that building that I just walked by. There were some more of our first responders who came out. They're just still searching to make sure everybody's okay and not heading back into this area either.
Yeah, you can see the insulation as well being strewn. Like you said, it seems like it's all from that building that's across the street, just absolutely, being, I don't want to say broad brush, but, moved in a line by that tornado. The brick that was thrown into that vehicle's windshield, I mean, this, you said it, Lance, this is a significant event, and huge thank you to, as you mentioned, those first responders who were out there so quickly and were able to take care of people. And you mentioned that, Lance, that there was possibly a gentleman in that building and they are tending to him. You said that he is okay, though?
Yeah, he seemed to be okay. He was not, of course, they were tending to him, but it didn't look like it was any type of, major thing. I'll say that. I'm sure to him it is, but, it doesn't look like it was life-threatening. Let me put it that way. So that's good. And you look at this is why right here. Check this out. I'm going to walk over here up to this building. See that building right there?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
See that? That's why we always say for folks not to be at the edges of their homes, because it's the edges of the homes that get impacted the worst. So we always say interior hallway, doorway, closet, because that's what happens. The trees fall into the sides. And look, there's another one down the, kind of, see if I can angle that so you can kind of see. There we go. You can see there. I mean, that's why we always say interior hallway, doorway, closet area, away from the exterior most walls. And look at all of this, just still a lot of debris. Still hearing 4 people, perhaps with serious injuries. That's from our news desk, just came in from Jono there. So we're going to continue to gather some more information. Look at this back here, though. This is good in terms of the severe damage. Doesn't look like it extended back here. A lot of trees down, a lot of issues, but everybody's walking around, which is good. So you can see some sheet metal down here. And look at this tree over here. So you can zoom in a little bit on that one.
Yeah.
A lot of damage. It's going to take a while.
All right. Looks like an apartment complex or a condo complex. We'll let you continue to investigate that. Yep. A lot of damage from what is likely a tornado in the Rocky Mount area. Our own Lance Blocker on the ground live in Rocky Mount. It is now just past 2 o'clock. Wes Hohenstein with Rachel Dunsing and the rest of the CBS 17 weather team. We continue to have active weather. So let's bring back up the radar on Max 1 and talk about who's getting the worst of the weather right now. That would be mainly the I-95 corridor. Everyone else is in the clear when it comes to severe weather. We still might have some residual flooding, but the worst of the weather right now has cleared Sampson County, Wayne County, Johnston County. Even you guys in Wilson County are about out of the woods. Nash County still under the gun right now, but the possible tornado that we could still have is moving into Halifax County. It is now well north of Rocky Mount. Lance said it started to dry out there. Again, on this view, we kind of go back down to the south. You see Rocky Mount just finishing up with some heavy rain, but this tornado warning still active for mainly Halifax County until 3:30. Yep, it's just the rotation has just cleared. The possible tornado has just cleared Edgecombe County. Still some heavy rain, lightning, gusty winds there. That's given it their own set of problems. But let's talk about where this possible rotation is now. And we're going to kind of go back to our analytical mode. And remember, here we're looking for something, a bright red color, telling us the winds are moving in one direction against a bright green color telling us the winds are moving in the opposite direction, creating the rotation that could eventually drop out of the clouds as a tornado. And what I'm seeing here is the rotation's more broad. All right, the rotation is a figure skater with their arms fully out to their side. They're not spinning that fast. If we want a tornado, we need some tight circulation with some strong winds. And, you know, one of the things we can do, we can kind of query the winds in and around the area. You're seeing some small numbers here, okay? Those are the winds up in the clouds. And if we have a tornado in these clouds, we want winds that are much higher than that, 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, and we're not seeing that. So that's telling us the winds in and around Halifax might still be gusty, but we're not seeing a tight rotation that could indicate we could still have a tornado on the ground. So again, that's our analytical mode. We're looking at the winds, but I think part of the story is we're still seeing some incredibly heavy rain with gusty winds. Sure, maybe they're not rotating anymore. That on top of some lightning. It looks like they also just updated the severe thunderstorm warning. So we've got two things working right here. We've got a possible tornado in Halifax County, in and around Halifax, north of Enfield, northwest of Scotland Neck. And we also have thunderstorms that are producing winds strong enough to knock down trees. And today, with as much rain as we've received, as much rain as we've got over the whole month, I mean, we're living through probably the third or fourth wettest September ever, only eclipsed by 96 and 99, which we all remember what happened there. That was Fran and Floyd, all right? So it takes a tropical system to give us record rainfall. We've had that this month. We're having that right now with what's going on northeast of the Triangle, mainly now in Halifax County, where we have that tornado warning until 2:30.
Yeah, 2:30, so it goes for about another 20 minutes or so. And as Wes was mentioning, he just walked you through it, that rotation is very broad. And we can have rotating thunderstorms. Most strong thunderstorms do rotate a bit, but we're not seeing super tight rotation, as we were alluding to before. It's that super tight rotation that gets us very concerned about a tornado or a tornado on the ground or producing damage. And we're not quite seeing that just yet, but we do expect that with tropical systems. When we have these outer rain bands, thanks to a tropical storm or a hurricane or whatever it is, they're going to rotate no matter what, because the entire system that's fueling these are going to rotate. So there's always going to be a little bit of embedded rotation. But if you add in to that, do a little bit of sort of like visual math, you've got some rotation from the tropical system, and then you put in a little bit of rotation within an individual storm. Those two rotations can sometimes add up, and that's why we get, as in the unfortunate case there north of Rocky Mount, where we could have a tornado get strong enough with that rotation that it comes out of the cloud, it drops down, it produces, unfortunately, significant damage, and then continues to move away. And that's why we've been on air with you all afternoon. Most of these tornado warnings did not produce a tornado, but it's just that one. And unfortunately, that did happen. And that's why when we have these tornado warnings in effect, we spend so much time walking you through this and getting you prepared and aware for some of these thunderstorms to move through on the off chance that it does produce a tornado. And in this instance, unfortunately, that was the case. So you're seeing the wide view right there on the radar. Let's go ahead and switch back over to Max 2 just for a moment so we can see what we're talking about with that very broad rotation. We're still seeing the greens. We're still seeing the reds. We just walked you through this, but we want to walk you through it again, especially after what we're seeing with the damage there in Rocky Mount. So as we have this rotation, the whole storm is still rotating and still has the potential to produce a tornado if some of that starts to tighten up. And we just lived through this. It could happen very quickly. Now, Roanoke Rapids, this storm is very close to you. You are not in this tornado warning. It is still in effect for Halifax and Pierce Crossroads. You're actually just outside of this, near Allen Grove, again near Pender. And as we switch over to the radar, that's where we're dealing with the heaviest rain right now as well, from Halifax and then out toward 158. Now, this does end at the Halifax County line. We don't have any tornado warnings or anything in effect for Northampton County, but it is possible, if this rotation cycles up again, that we may get an additional tornado warning, which would include portions of Northampton County in our viewing area. So we would need to pay very close attention to that. But for right now, it runs for about another 20 minutes for northern Halifax County.
Yeah, and one of the things we're dealing with while we're able to sound the all clear for a majority of central North Carolina, there are thousands of people without power. There's a little more than 1,000 without power in Wilson County. But from the storms earlier in the day, Durham and Orange County, we know several thousand of you are dealing with power outages right now. And that's because, sure, we didn't have a tornado in those areas, but we had winds that were strong enough to mess with the power lines, to knock down a tree onto the power lines. So those two things are still causing problems where Rachel is and where we're looking at the radar right now. So yes, the tornado warning until 2:30, but that whole band, remember, these are far, far outer bands, essentially from the leftovers of Hurricane Helene. As these bands come through, sure, maybe they're not producing a tornado, but they could be producing some damaging wind gusts, which might knock down a medium-sized tree or a big-sized tree that has really loose soil underneath and has a huge tree canopy. I mean, remember, our trees haven't lost their leaves yet, so that's basically just a wind catcher. And so power outages, one of the residual problems that we are still dealing with. Obviously, we saw some power lines that might have been down with that tornado damage that we're likely seeing in Rocky Mount. We're also seeing some residual flooding. Just because it's drying out doesn't mean the creeks in your neighborhood aren't still rising as everything drains into the creek. So we've talked about now for a few days where this isn't going to be an all-day thing. We'll have much better weather for Friday night, but Friday night without power and Friday night with some rising creeks could still cause some problems. So we still need to tread lightly as we head into the evening. And of course, right now, severe thunderstorm warning and tornado warning still in effect for areas east of I-95. Specifically in Halifax County.
Yeah, I know the folks in Rocky Mount definitely wanting some of that rain or wanting the weather to improve, and that's what you're looking at right now. That's our meteorologist Lance Blocker live on scene. The damage in Rocky Mount. Now, fortunately, while yes, there is still some residual rain, as we've been mentioning, as these rain bands move away, we're pretty much in the clear from severe weather, from the risk of these devastating wind gusts and these isolated tornadoes. We will still have some spotty showers as what is left of this tropical moisture continues to wrap through our system, but we're not expecting severe weather for the rest of the night. Again, what you're looking at right now live with us is meteorologist Lance Blocker on the ground. He is in Rocky Mount. Looks like some good citizens as well as first responders out cleaning up from the damage. I don't know. Is Lance still dialed in? Is he able to hear as he can? Lance, all right, back on scene again.
I can hear you.
Yeah, explain to us what's going on. What are you seeing with the folks in the community there?
Yeah, so the tornado obviously touched down here just a short while ago, but even in that short amount of time since that happened, EMS, fire have gotten pretty much everybody out of here who needed additional medical support. From what I can tell, at least, the scene is much quieter. In fact, I've seen a few fire trucks and ambulances begin to pull out of here. The cleanup process, though, no doubt will continue for the next few days and weeks ahead from this tornado touchdown that occurred. You can see up here that building right there. Of course, we got that other one that had a lot of damage done to it. Of course, it basically fell in on itself there. And that other tree right there with a lot of damage too back behind me. There's a lot of living quarters back there. It looks like everybody's out walking around. No issues there either. So we'll keep you updated from here. And then, of course, what we find out from local authorities as well. For now, I'm going to send it back to you guys in studio as we conclude our severe weather coverage.
All right, thanks, Lance. Be safe again. He is near Tiffany Boulevard there, north of Rocky Mount. We have unfortunately at least heard of 4 injuries as a result of that damage, as a result of that storm. Lance actually saw some emergency personnel actually tending to a gentleman as well in that building that appeared to collapse earlier. So unfortunately, we do have some injuries due to this tornado that was on the ground there north of Rocky Mount. But we're still watching this tornado warning. It has been very much carved away if we want to take max 2, so you can kind of see that. Remember, just a few minutes ago when we were showing this to you, it included a decent section of Halifax County, and now it's really started to carve away, and it just basically includes the town of Halifax and Tillery out in the northeastern section of Halifax County. As we switch in with that rotation, our analytical mode, the Doppler winds, whatever you want to call it, what we look at when we're trying to find a tornado, we still see our greens and our reds sort of next to each other here. But we've said it a few times before, and I know we're saying a lot of the same things over and over again, but it's very broad. We haven't seen this start to tighten up again, which would be an indicator that this is trying to strengthen and possibly produce another tornado. Unfortunately, we have had a tornado on the ground. You just saw the image there with Lance. But we're not seeing any indicators that this is starting to tighten up at any point. Let's go ahead and just to make sure, we'll check in with our debris tracker. And we've said this throughout the afternoon. When we see this purple, pink, magenta color, we want it to all look the same. When that tornado was there north of Rocky Mount, we went very quickly and had a drop to a sort of green and even a blue color, which was that debris being picked up by the radar as the tornado lofted it into the air. We're not really seeing anything like that just yet. There are a few little drops here that look a little more orange than pink. We're not too concerned about that. It doesn't line up where we're seeing any of that rotation, but we still have some gusty winds that are stretching from Allen Grove up through Halifax as the storm continues to move to the northwest. to the northeast at about 35 miles per hour. But the entire complex is starting to get a little bit more messy. We're not seeing those defined cells like we were before, not seeing that sort of kidney bean shape, which can indicate rotation.
Right.
So hopefully that means that this line is weakening as it continues to move to the north. But that tornado warning still goes for about another 10 minutes until 2:30.
Yeah, just a quick update. The rotation that we've been tracking is still there, about 2 miles south of Halifax, now moving northeast at 30 miles per hour. So some of the damage, some of the things we've been talking about that we've seen over the past 30 to 60 minutes could still be happening in parts of Edgecombe County. It is starting to show signs of weakening, so the odds of this being extended into Northampton County are low, but for those of you in and around Halifax and Halifax County, you need to be in your safe place, the lowest level, most interior part of your home, as this storm, this potential tornado-producing storm, continues to move off to the northeast. So that's what's happening now out east of I-95, northeast of the Triangle. But I want to kind of bring it back home on Max 1 and talk about what else is going on. A lot of dry weather. A lot of us in central North Carolina are now in the clear. You're going to probably want to wander out. I know it's Friday night, Friday afternoon. Most of us didn't have school today. It's getting ready for the weekend. A couple things you're going to see and feel outside. You're going to see some ominous looking clouds like that. We're still in a tropical atmosphere. The tornado-producing storms, most of the rain is over for most everybody. You're also going to walk outside and it's going to feel like the humidity's at 300%. We're in a tropical atmosphere. It feels like the tropics. So that's not going to change yet. It's going to look a little scary out there with some ominous-looking clouds, but off in the distance we see some brighter skies. So that's good. We're also starting to see a lot of our advisories, our watches and warnings get dropped. The tornado watch has been dropped for a majority of our area, and to be honest, it was only until 6 o'clock. So once again, the Weather Service, the Storm Prediction Center timed this out right. We thought we'd all be in the clear by 6 o'clock, and it's now almost 2:30. We should be able to sound the all clear for everyone northeast who's still getting some storms right now, probably in the next hour. We still have some wind out there, so the wind advisory that is associated with the tropical system, that's associated with the thunderstorms that move through, where we could see gusts above 30 miles an hour, that is still out there. That'll probably hold until about 6 o'clock. And then the flood watch that we had a long list of things that were happening to us. The flood watch goes until 6 o'clock. So another couple hours, and we should be able to sound the all clear for all our problems. And then as we head into tonight, whether it's just getting out and about, dinner, I know there might be a handful of high school football games that didn't get moved or canceled. We still have those. But as where we are right now, the big picture, of course, all our problems today coming from what was Hurricane Helene. Maybe not a hurricane anymore, but still swirling, causing problems. It's amazing to think about. The center of whatever's left of this storm is 400 miles away from us, but this storm was 700, 800 miles wide. So it's encompassing and impacting so many people on the East Coast. Now the worst of our weather is almost cleared us, but we still have a few scattered showers and storms, not only in parts of northeast North Carolina, but our friends in the mountains are also still getting a little bit of rain. You know, we talked about, and we were flabbergasted by the totals, 5 to 15 inches in our mountains. We hit that and we exceeded that in some areas. So they're going to be dealing with problems on through the weekend. I know we visit there. We've got friends and family. Our kids are in school up there. Make sure you're checking in with them because they're still dealing with some problems as we are right here. It looks like we just got a new issuance of the severe thunderstorm warning. You want to walk us through that?
Yeah, so the issuance for this severe thunderstorm warning, again, everything is moving to, what's the National Weather Service here saying? Moving to the northeast at 35 miles per hour. And so the reason they are issuing this one is, again, because it has a history of producing not just tornadoes, but also some damaging wind gusts. And this is currently moving through Northampton County. So even if we're not going to get a tornado out of this, we still have some very gusty winds that are moving to the northeast in excess for some of these locations up to around 60 miles per hour at times. So again, we'll run through some of this information here with this severe thunderstorm warning. for Northampton County in North Carolina until 3 in the afternoon, so about another 40 minutes or so. And the main hazard would be 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. They're not talking as much about a tornado threat with the severe thunderstorm warning. Sometimes they will issue a severe thunderstorm warning in advance of a tornado warning just to get people ready, or if the rotation isn't quite impressive enough to go straight for a tornado warning just yet, they will do these severe thunderstorm warnings. But this is mainly for the strong, possibly damaging wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. And that is moving through right now, getting ready to move very close to Roanoke Rapids and then up 186 as we get closer to the Virginia border.
Yeah, let's, before we wrap up our coverage this afternoon, I want to make sure we check back in with Lance, who is live in Rocky Mount, where we have some tornado damage. Let me know when we can go to Lance. Lance, you want to bring us an update? I just got a note from a viewer. It's a really popular area. There's kind of like a mall area right there, several strip centers. One of a very popular Chinese restaurant, probably right around where you are, Hing Ta, apparently sustained some significant damage, and that goes in line with everything you've been showing us. Give us another update on what you're seeing from the potential tornado damage in Rocky Mount.
Yeah, so the crews are still working to secure this scene, not only for the people who are here, but also for the first responders. You can see them working in that area. I think that might be where the gas leak was. I'm just saying that. I have no clue if that was or not, but they had some heavier machinery there earlier to try to work on that one location. There's a tan building just in the center of the screen, what you're looking at right now. That looks like the roof collapsed in on that. I think that was some sort of a car repair facility. The Mexican restaurant here looks to be mostly undamaged besides on the backside. But when you compare it to the buildings that collapsed around this, certainly they came out unscathed. I'll pan this back around. You can see that's actually one of the tractors that they brought in to help get some things started here with securing the scene. There was a lot more police and fire and EMS out here, of course, right after that tornado touchdown. It has drastically calmed down now, which is obviously good news. Hopefully everybody who needed some assistance was able to get that. You can see, look at the size of that tree. It's into the side of that, looks like an office building there. I think it's an office building, but then I'm gonna pan back around over here. You can see some of the first responders still here. And you can also see some of the first responders actually walking through that building. That's the collapsed structure that I think that they pulled somebody out of earlier. That was a gentleman that when I pulled up, they were really tending to him, but hopefully he's okay. You know, the first responders have been out here all afternoon. I'm just going to walk over here. We'll get a different angle on this, but you can see, of course, the damage is extensive. And that building, so that looks like the only one that the roof was really damaged on. And so if I pan back to the right, half of its roof is of that fire truck. So certainly a very powerful storm as the tornado moved through here. Very thankful they had some good warning, some good lead time on it. Otherwise, could have been even more serious. The living community back behind here, if you've got friends or family there, I've been told that pretty much everybody was unharmed in that area. So if you've got friends or family in that apartment complex, been told again, everybody was okay from that area. It's still unofficial, I'd say, but still gathering some more information. I do know of 4 injuries. Hopefully all those folks will be okay. The emergency response was so fast that they definitely got the attention they needed very quickly. So we're thankful for that. I'm going to zoom back out. You can see probably a 300-yard. I'm going to go with that, a 300-yard path for this right now. But of course, the National Weather Service team, Nick Petro and his staff there, they'll come out and actually, they'll be fast with it. They normally are. Come out and survey this, but it's certainly a lot of damage from what is likely to be a tornado. I can't imagine it's being anything else besides a tornado, of course. Straight line wind damage is starting to do this. So I'd say most definitely a tornado there. But that one building in particular, just look at that. That's got to be scary stuff. And the thing is, I was about 3 miles away when we first heard that noise. And I was talking about it on air because everybody around me hit their brakes. There's a loud, just like everybody talks about, sound like a train.
and everybody around me hit their brakes. And so I'm assuming that was the initiation of this storm. We were about 3 miles to the southwest of here when that happened. So certainly kind of led to what we're looking at right now. I'm going to pan back around. See that one house? There's a house right here. Looks like everything's okay structure-wise with that. Obviously, there is some damage to it. The roof's been torn in a few places, but hopefully not too bad there. I do think that and look at this too. Let's zoom on in on that, because that's where they were tending to that person earlier. So I didn't really want to zoom in over there, of course, but now you can see the windows are completely blown out. And even on the other side of the building, if I were to walk all the way around, you see the same scene where the windows were completely demolished. So anybody who was on the other side of those windows, it would have been a very tough situation for sure. And that's why we always advise folks to get away from the windows and to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. So we're going to continue to gather some more information about the scene here. Huge thanks to the Rocky Mount first responders, police, fire, and EMS, doing an unbelievable job getting out here and making sure everybody was safe as possible during this very violent storm that moved through moments ago. We'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Lance, live in Rocky Mount where a likely tornado has done significant damage. We appreciate your reports. We'll check in with you throughout the afternoon. Let's get back to the here and now, because there are still some storms, still technically a tornado warning. We've talked about how the rotation is weakening, likely not producing a tornado anymore, but still plenty of rain and thunderstorms, gusty winds, lightning with this system as it eventually is moving out of the area. We'll kind of look at the big picture once again, and you can see there are still a few storms for Edgecombe, Halifax, and Northampton County, but a majority of our area, we can sound the all clear on what's going on this afternoon.
Right, and there are a few showers that are off to the west. There was actually a brief tornado warning in Virginia with that secondary batch, but we're not really expecting that to move in. Our atmosphere has pretty much been worked over. It's pretty much been used up, and so it's going to be a lot harder for anything to become severe. So again, once this is done, once this warning expires at 2:30, we're going to watch for another hour, but it should be clearing.
And the time now is 2:30, so this tornado warning has officially expired. There are still some storms. It has not been reissued. We'll continue to keep an eye on those storms for those of you in Edgecombe, Halifax, and Northampton County. The rest of the area starting to clear out, or at least dry out, and the severe weather threat has come to an end. So for now, we will return to regular programming. Of course, we've got our crews in the field. It's been a busy weather day. I hope everything has turned out okay at your house. We will be back with a full report tonight on CBS 17 News at 4. For Rachel, I'm Wes, live here at CBS 17 in Raleigh. Have a great afternoon.